So I did some digging around the other day, and I found out why the other guy's podcast sounded like doo-doo caca.
You dug around and what now? Doo-doo what?
No, I think you're confused. He did some digging around. He was a gumshoe.
Oh, I just hate it when I get gum on my shoe. You're going to need a chisel to get that off.
What? No, boy, I was detecting. That doesn't matter. His podcast sounded like doo-doo caca because all the cash he had, all that cash from his fancy job. He tried to use it as an acoustic insulator, just start the walls with the crap, boy. It didn't work very well. But I swear, if I was to roll over that wall right now and put a hot dog car in it, we'd all be rich, boy.
Are you kidding me? It sounds like something Kid Rock would do.
You mean the hole in the wall or the cash in the wall?
Both. You know, when's he ever gonna grow up and be Daddy Rock?
Hey, say what you will about him, but one time that guy didn't see the sun for 3 dang days.
Yeah? Well, that's not that long.
Definitely somewhere between a 0 and a 10.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I can't count, but I believe we can all verify that. That's all the numbers, right, 0, 10?
Yeah, well, one time I didn't see the sun for a 3-dog night.
Okay, whatever. Look, we gotta get to our promotion this week. Who sponsored us?
There's that helmet you put on the other day, and then you woke up and said you thought it was haunted, and then he told you to get away because you want a fudge sickle.
I don't know what we should talk about that helmet. It kind of gives me the creeps.
Well, we gotta come up with something that keeps this show afloat, because it's the only thing that gives me a sense of dignity around my wife, who is obviously physically superior to me. So chop, chop, let's go!
Have you ever had this problem?
Oh, the sun's so bright, it's gonna burn my retinas out before the baseline drops.
Well, fret no more, because Bill Tetley and Uncle Rico, the masterminds behind Placebo Body Armor and the Michael Bay Pool Vacuum, bring you this.
Placebo sunglasses.
Oh, can they save my retinas?
Well, one time, Kid Rock didn't see the sun for 3 dang days, and it's all because he was wearing this. Placebo sunglasses.
With Uncle Rico and Bill Tetley's patented blackout technology, you too don't have to see the sun for 3 dang days.
And it is so comfortable. What's it made of?
We're so glad you asked.
It's made of cheesecloth. You remember that cheesecloth they use in the body armor?
No, it's actually a
It's cheesecloth.
polyfiber that blocks out the...
It's cheesecloth.
Well,
It's air.
it does block out light.
Oh, yeah, it's very light, because it's just a handkerchief.
Okay, whatever. Could somebody please just give me something to cover up my eyes? I swear it's like somebody cast solar flare
Well,
over
let
here.
me ask you this. Can I wear them while I'm driving?
Sure. But probably only once, because you'll probably crash.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna crash, but the good thing is if you get a boogie, you can just take his handkerchief off your eyes and blow it right into your placebo sunglasses. So separately.
Actually, no, they're not sold separately. These are the placebo sunglasses.
Wait a second. Those are placebo sunglasses?
Somebody please
I
give
thought
me
those
some
supposed to look cool.
I swear I think they melted out.
Here, Simon, put some salt in
Who's
them.
there? Who said that? Ah!
Placebo sunglasses. Are they really sunglasses? No, they're not. But who cares? Just give us your money.
Have you ever had this problem?
Oh, the rejection from my placebo GF was giving me insomnia.
Well, fear no more.
One time, Kid Rock didn't see the sun for 3
Wrong one.
days.
Shut up.
Oh,
Idiot.
okay.
Don't worry, Simon. I've got you covered with my new product. Placebo Sleep.
Placebo sleep? What is that?
We're so glad you asked. Introducing Placebo Sleep. Bill Tetley and Uncle Rico, the masterminds behind Placebo Laxative and Placebo Designated Driver, bring you a formula that is designed to put you in the deepest state of sleep.
After several nights of staying up. Placebo Sleep. Yes, Simon, it's the greatest formula ever. With Uncle Rico's patented crash-out technology, you too can have the greatest night of sleep of your life.
What's that not in it?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, Placebo Sleep uses only the most concentrated forms of caffeine and ephedra to keep you up days on end. And then, and only then, when you feel like you're gonna pass out, you do. And then you sleep for for several nights straight, and then when you wake up, you feel like you still gotta sleep.
Okay, good.
It's great.
Great, yes, here. Head in here. I can't see it because you put stuff in my friggin' eyes. I need to sleep, okay? Please, I need anything. Can it blare out the sound of this frickin' PlayStation 1 jungle music?
Well, that's where our next product comes in. Placebo Black Night Noise. It's just like the opposite of white noise, but it's the Black Knight from Monty Python narrating the noise to you.
What kind of frickin' product? What?
Now, Simon, you sound a little irate and overstimulated from the placebo sleep. I think you took in too much caffeine.
Shut your face. I just want to go to sleep.
Have at you, coward! 'Tis but a flesh wound.
How is this going to help me fall? Oh, God, stop. The voice this guy.
With Placebo Black Night Noise, you can have the soothing sounds of the Black Knight lull you to sleep.
This music has really put me on
It's
edge.
the caffeine, Simon, I'm telling you.
Shut your face.
Yes, cease the squabbling and prepare for a scrap. You yellow coward.
How is this supposed to help me fall asleep if I'm hearing him yell at me?
One time, Cheryl Crow didn't hear from nobody for 3 dang nights. And you can too, with the Placebo Black Knight.
But I could still hear his crap.
Enough talking, you pansy. Put up your fisticuffs.
Whoa, he's getting a little irate, too. I think it's the caffeine.
Would you shut up with the frickin' caffeine? That's what. Look, I am just wired and tired. I need a good night's sleep, okay? I can barely see from the salt you poured in my eyes, and I don't want to hear from his yellow-bellied black light crap anymore. I don't want to see any more of you until I'm well rested.
Well, you're in luck, cause one time, Kid Rock, he didn't see the sun for 3 dang days.
Hey, pass me that handkerchief. I got a booger.
Placebo something. We're definitely going to have to advertise the helmet instead of this.
And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the show that keeps giving you the things that you don't want at the times when you don't want them, roughly every 2 weeks. This is just a regular show about the regular show. I'm your host, that one guy with the weird name that's hard to say and nobody cares. I hope you've been eating your bran muffins, because it's time to get regular. So I'm going to try to not chat your ear off about things you don't care about this evening. So let's just get all that out of the way right now. I made it past the Scream movies. I'm moving on to my scary movies because it's October 28th as I record this. So I made it to Nightmare on Elm Street. Mid to late 80s type movies. And I can see at the time, at least contextually speaking, at the time they came out, I could understand how they were more popular than the Friday the 13th movies because it's a fresh new idea. Clawman chasing him in the dreams. Freddy Krueger, does he eat donuts? No, he cuts you up. Rawr. But I think in today's day and age, I think the Friday the 13th movies have aged better. Simply because you expect them to be campy and, they're not trying to be something that they're not. And I guess, Nightmare on Elm Street wasn't either, but I don't know. There's just something about it. There's cool things, it's a cool idea. But I didn't care much for the original one, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And number 2, man, I swear I think that's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I'm sorry if you like that. It doesn't mean we can't agree. We can disagree on that and still get along just fine, hopefully. But I'm sorry, that movie was just terrible. I couldn't make a better movie. But that being said, relatively speaking, the garbage. Now, really, it's nowhere near as good as the first one, in my opinion. The third one's a lot better. And the third one is the first instance when the movies start to get like a little bit of humor behind Freddy, give him that kind of a comedy character. And that's the Freddy Krueger I like. I know a lot of people don't. They're like, oh, the first one's the horror movie and the rest of them are You know, they just got worse as they went along. Honestly, I feel like they sort of got better as they went along. Now I like 3 a little bit better than 4, just simply because 4 is got a lot of disgusting parts in it. But quite frankly, if it weren't for that, 4 would be, in my opinion, better written or better paced, I guess. Part 3 would have been a really great one, but it doesn't feel like it's paced all that well. All the kids, when they get the Dream Warriors, when they go in there, their superpowers are like shown off for 15 to 30 seconds tops, and then, you know, they're nothing more. So the only one I haven't seen at this point now is 5. I have seen Freddy's Dead several times, and a lot of people say that's the worst one. That's actually probably my favorite one, simply because, you know, it's not taking itself seriously anymore. I think it works better as a comedy horror franchise than it does just a straight horror franchise, in my opinion. But that's just me, you know. Oh well. I do like Freddy versus Jason too. I mentioned that one. I just like the fight scene between Freddy and Jason. That's about it. But you know, I'm more of a Halloween guy, I guess. You know, maybe you don't know. I don't know. I don't know. There you go. See, but anyway, moving on. First images of Bobby Hill for the new King of the Hill series. He's 21, I think. So, yeah, seemed to have slimmed down a little bit. He's that fusion chef. And apparently, he is working in a fusion restaurant, maybe under Chain Wasana song. I'm not sure. That'll be an interesting dynamic if that's the way they choose to go, though. So I'm going to try to cut it there because I realize, you know, editing these things, it's like I don't shut up. Anyway, today we're here to talk about the great regular show episode of Slam Dunk. This show is probably first and foremost, it features the late Carl Weathers. I think I said last time I'd be talking about him, but it is a basketball episode, obviously by the name. It's a pretty cool episode, I gotta say. Looking at the Cartoon Network schedule for October, I think 24th. So this is sort of, it's 4 days after the anniversary that this episode come out. But this is actually a Monday, so, you know, it would have been coming out on a Monday. So let's look at the episode of Adventure Time that came out alongside it and some of the other stuff that came out, because they're getting close to Halloween. They're, I guess, 1 week exactly away from Halloween. I see a Scooby-Doo Halloween at 5, 5:30, 6:30, Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King. I've seen that one. That's not the Abracadabra one, though. I can't remember exactly what happens in that one. There's one that's like a wizarding school to go to. You meet Velma's sister. Yeah, whatever. Amazing World of Gumball, The Goons and the Secret. I'm not sure what that is. The Adventure Time episode, though. From Bad to Worse. And I'm looking at the picture here, and this is the sequel to, like, one of the very early episodes of Adventure Time called Slumber Party Panic. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the first episode. But in that episode, Finn and Jake are there's a slumber party going on in the castle, and the Candy Kingdom basically gets turned into zombies. And Princess Bubblegum's like, trust science, and science ends up being the name of the mouse. And science puts together the formula and saves them all. And this is like a sequel to that. And the thing I remember most about this episode is Jake gets bitten and he starts turning into a zombie. But it's like his arm does, and he can stretch like he's a magic dog, and he can stretch out. So he just keeps running away to outrun the infection, and he just keeps running and running. And Lady Rainicorn's talking to him in Korean, and he's like, don't worry, lady, I can just run on forever. I don't think that's true, because we've seen parts in the show where he gets like stretched beyond what he can, like, you know, he just gets too tall or whatever. But yeah, it's you know, there's a lot of good stuff. That's actually a pretty good episode, I would say. But head to head, I don't know if it beats this regular show episode. It's kind of apples and oranges right now. They're both pretty good, because this is a pretty good regular show episode from what I remember. What come on after that? We have King of the Hill came on at, looks like 9. Fish and Wildlife. That's the episode with the hippies and when Hank and Bobby try to go camping and fish is spelled Phish, like the band. That's not one of my favorite episodes, just to be quite honest with you. It's okay, but like relatively speaking, there's that term again. I'm not going to say it's nothing but garbage, but it's one of the weaker King of the Hill episodes, in my opinion. But really, honestly, just about any King of the Hill episode's going to be at least par for my taste. So, yeah. All right. So let's look at what we got going on here in the episode. Slam Dunk is the 6th episode of season 3 and the 46th episode overall. My gosh, I've put out, well, this show, I shouldn't say but this show's put out nearly 50 episodes. My goodness. Wow, 50 episodes and a whole 5 listeners. Yeah. All right. Thanks for hanging on, people. Okay. It first aired October 24th, 2011. Synopsis: Mordecai and Rigby play a 2-on-2 match of basketball against Muscle Man and High Five Ghost to earn the rights to use the computer. So that's another trope that I guess I failed to pick up on up to this point. Is Muscle Man, a lot of the episodes, the conflicts between he and Mordecai and Rigby is the computer room. They switch away from that later on, but early on, I'd forgotten that they kind of leaned on this. So it had 2.08 million viewers, age rating of PG in both the USA and the UK. Production code 1009-047. I guess that's, I don't know what the 1009 is, but the 47th episode overall, maybe they made it, I don't know, the 9th of October, 47th episode. I don't know. But whatever. No point in getting caught up on that. So last episode, Camping Can Be Cool. That was a much better episode than what I remembered, mainly because of the end of the episode. But there was a lot of cool stuff that unfurled there. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen and watch the episode, because there's actually a lot of stuff that kind of plays into the overall story arc of character development in that episode. Next episode is Cool Bikes. I remember that one. Gary's in that episode, and he's a good guy in that one, sort of. So there we go. That's when he starts turning babyface. He was a heel there for a minute, but I guess they wanted to turn him babyface. He's a face, darn it. Okay. This episode directed by Mike Roth. That's usually how it goes. Written and storyboarded by Andre Salif. I think that's how you say it. Salif. And Ben Adams. So those are, I'm not going to say they haven't written before, but I'm not quite as familiar with those names, to be honest. But they did a good job writing, I think. What I remember. All right. Featured voices. Mordecai and High Five Ghost is J.G. Quintel. Rigby is William Salyers. Pops and Muscle Man is Sam Marin. And we have a lot of additional voices here. Margaret is Janie Haddad, still going by Tompkins. Maybe I should just stop saying that. Just Janie Haddad Tompkins. Yeah, no big deal. That's her name. Whatever. I think I brought that up last time. I didn't know why, but whatever. It's her business, not mine. And then I'm going to say this character's name. I never like saying it. But they have it capitalized, but just because it's a formality, I think. But I'm going to say it lowercase g, God of Basketball, Carl Weathers. Okay. It's just, I'm not trying to hesitate for time here. Like there's literally something on the credit screen. I can't get it to go down. There's this little bar. I'm thinking that's the last voice though. I'm not sure if there's anything underneath it, but yeah, there we go. Yeah, it is. Okay. I just had to take my cursor off of it. I'm not so tech savvy this evening. I'm looking around the room. That's why the tone of my voice is changing. You're hearing more of a proximity effect. But I've got on my first reflections, I'm trying to get up a lot of bass traps. I don't have any corner traps yet, but I've got some thicker bass traps. And that's obviously not going to make that big of a difference. I shouldn't say obviously. That's not going to make it's not really all that important for a podcast. But I do have treatment up on the first reflections. That's the big point. The 500 hertz is really where I'm trying to treat because that's what's getting me in this room. And then on some of the corners, the sidewalls, I have stuff to catch the eye reflection. But hopefully it cuts down on a lot of the time that goes into editing this podcast because that's a big time commitment. And I'm only in the hole several $100. Oh boy. Anyway, I've got the materials to make 5 more panels out in the garage. So I'm going to go with that. And hopefully that'll take care of quite a bit of this. Let's see. Trivia for this episode. Well, you know, I'll go ahead and point this out because this is a good song. I didn't know that this. I never picked up on this, but the song that plays during the climax of the episode is "Hey Man, Nice Shot" by the band Filter. Now, I used to listen to that song a lot before 2020 when I went to the gym. There was a phase where I went and I listened to 90s rock and grunge music a lot. And this one popped up a lot on the playlist. So, and it almost undoubtedly, like, it didn't matter if I listened to Pearl Jam music, Soundgarden, you know, all those stations. Eventually, it would bleed into Jane's Addiction and songs like this. And yeah, so I remember hearing this and I thought, man, that is just a very unique sounding song. And I remember listening to, I believe it was Recording Studio Rockstars with Lid Shaw. It's his podcast. It's a recording podcast. You know, they talk about, he brings in different engineers and producers and mixing engineers and whatnot to talk about, you know, audio work. But the guy that, I don't know if he I'm thinking it's the guy that mixed that song was on, maybe he engineered it, but he talked about this song. Can't remember what he said, but I do remember listening to him. So anyway, that's the pop culture reference for this episode. And then we'll talk about the goofs at the end. I'm not seeing any episode tie-ins other than the obvious ones that, like, you'll pick up on in the episode where, you know, Margaret and Muscle Man in the computer room and, you know, all that. So without further ado, let's get into this thing. Okay, so I've made it 39 seconds into this episode, and there's a lot to pick up on here. So first thing, birds chirping when we open. You know how that goes. Most episodes do. They're in the house playing video games, and it's a basketball game. It kind of looks like that, I think it was Larry Bird versus Michael Jordan basketball game. Something like that. It was like a one-on-one type game, but except for one of the players has an afro, which, you know, neither Larry Bird nor Jordan had an afro, to my knowledge. But anyway, the song playing on the video game sounds sort of familiar to similar to Beverly Hills Cop, you know. It's kind of like that. It's a little bit slower. But anyway, Mordecai's going, which way do I go? Which way do I go? And, you know, just it's the normal thing that they do. They're like, they're not breaking kayfabe in this episode. They're keeping everything, they're following the routine, which is cool because it sets you up for unexpected things to happen. If they keep playing this, it's, you know, it's kind of like their default setting, and then which direction are they going to go? Well, the phone rings and Pops comes in and he's like, phone for you, Mordecai. And Mordecai goes, he says something and he's like, dude, pause it. And Rigby won't pause it. He goes, dude, pause it. And he hits him. He says, fine. So Mordecai goes in there, and I just noticed this. The phone on the wall is white. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I would be willing to bet that if we go back and we look at the phone on prank callers or master prank caller, that the phone was a different color. And I think, honestly, I think they did that because Benson tears the phone off the wall and they got to get a new one. I'm not 100% sure. I'm thinking that phone was red for some reason. I could be completely wrong, but like that hit me and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they didn't just reset the color, you know, but they put a new one up. But anyway, Mordecai picks up the phone, hello, and hey, Mordecai, this is Margaret. And then we get like a stinger and it zooms in on his eyes, you know, like something's about to happen. And then it cuts back in the room and Rigby going, which way am I going to go? Which way am I going to go? And he takes his player and he runs around the other one. He dunks it. And as Mordecai's coming back in, he pauses it and acts like nothing. He goes, eat on that, Mordecai. And then he pauses it as Mordecai comes back in there. So, yeah, it's like, really, like, what are you actually like? You think you're getting some kind of revenge or something, I guess. I don't know. But then he gets really scared when Mordecai comes back in. So I love that dynamic. It keeps me entertained. So I've made it another 39 seconds to this, something like that. And it's just crammed. This episode's crammed full. Like, Mordecai's like, that was Margaret. And Rigby says, what's she want? And he says, she wants me to make a website. And Rigby says, boo. And he says, what about our game of Hoop Jam 5000? Hoop Jams 5000. It's just, I don't know. That title's just, it's amusing to me. It's just a funny sound. I don't know. Hoop Jam 5000. But by this time, Mordecai's already running up the stairs and he's like, Mordecai. And he runs up to the computer room and he goes, Mordecai, come on. And he goes, dude, I think he says, dude, it won't take long. He goes, you can't even do it right now anyway. He goes, Muscle Man's got signed up for the whole day. And he picks up a paper. And I don't know how he knows this because Rigby can't read all that well at this point. But anyway, Muscle Man's got signed up for like 4 or 5 time slots. And then I guess he just got tired and wrote an arrow down the rest of the page like he's claiming it all day. And Mordecai's like, he's not even in here right now. He's outside playing basketball. And you see him in the window and he's like hitting all these shots. He's like draining them. Just it goes outside. The camera cuts outside and he shoots another one, nothing but net. Boom shakalaka, so it's a NBA Jam reference. That seems like the prime inspiration for this episode, to be honest with you. But yeah, so Muscle Man's like tearing it up at basketball. He can shoot really well. But literally, as soon as Mordecai clicks and there's a little hourglass on the screen, Muscle Man it's almost like he teleports behind him. He goes, what are you doing in here? So he's like, it really plays into the pettiness of Muscle Man. It's like, I'm not using this, but don't you dare touch it. So right when Mordecai clicks the mouse, and he's like panting too, Muscle Man, what are you doing here? And he's like, it looks like he's about to have a heart attack or he's sweating and he's wiping his face off, So he's like sprinted really hard because it's before they can even turn around, he gets up there. So Mordecai's response to, what are you doing? What do you think you're doing? He's like, well, I figured, or we were trying to make a website. You were out playing basketball. I figured you wouldn't. And Muscle Man cuts him off and he's like, oh, you figured? And he's wiping his face off. You figured you used the computer on somebody else's time slot? And, he's just like berating him, and he's like, you got to waste your turn just like everybody else in this joint. Now get lost. I got to watch my downloads. And he says downloads really weird, but they're like, all right. And they get out. And before Mordecai and Rigby even make it to the room, you hear Muscle Man just hee-hawing and guffawing outside, and it's like real reverby. And you look outside and it's them playing basketball again. So before they can even make it to the room, they're back down on the basketball court. And, once again, he's just destroying it down there. And Mordecai's like, oh, forget this. And I don't know how he sees them out of his window. That's kind of weird because his room is across the hallway opposite of the room they were in, I think at least. And he's seeing out to the basketball court from both sides. I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be adjacent to whatever. It doesn't matter. Who cares? It's the regular show. Crazier things have happened. But Mordecai's like, oh, forget this. And he goes back in the room. And I swear, as soon as he clicks on the thing, Muscle Man and Fives this time both like pretty much teleport behind him. What did I say to you? Mordecai turns around and he's like, you're not even using it. So Muscle Man's like, I got to read a download from this hottie I met online the other day. And Rigby says, what, you met your mom online? Muscle Man kind of, who knows how he would react to that, but he's like, why you got to take it there, bro? Now you're definitely not going to get the computer. And Mordecai's like, I got to have it to make a webpage for Margaret. And he goes, tell you what, we'll play you a game of basketball. And Muscle Man says, you guys don't even stand a chance. Winner gets the computer for a week is what Mordecai says. And then Muscle Man, oh, you're on, So they go out, and I have a feeling we're about to see like a montage type scene. Okay, so it's not exactly a montage. It's like a mini montage. There's music playing in the background, but they're playing the game of basketball. Mordecai, check, and the Muscle Man says, mate, and he throws it at him. Mordecai tries to pass it to Rigby. Muscle Man intercepts it. I think he hits a layup. And long story short, Muscle Man and High Fives goes destroy Mordecai and Rigby. I mean, it's it's like a grown man playing against a little kid or something. It's not even fair. But Muscle Man's just he's hitting all these. It's really interesting the animations they put it through. Like he's hitting like these spin move threes, and High Fives goes blocks one of Rigby's shots, and just jams it back on his face, and he stiff arms both of them with two of his arms and shoots with the other one. Muscle Man at the end. And they're hitting like nothing but net. So I guess I don't know if that's the only animation they knew how to do, or I don't know, but like they're really good. But Muscle Man says, "Hey Mordecai, you look confused. Did you know we only need one more point to win?" And for some reason, I don't know why they chose to put this in, but Mordecai's like, "Huh?" And Muscle Man shoulders him and knocks him over. And then he shoots and hits it, and he, "Oh yeah," and boom shakalaka again. And he goes, "Computer rights for a week." And this is the best part. He says, "You know who else likes to score so she can have computer rights for a week?" And he goes, "My mom," and I mean, it's like you knew it was coming, and then right after that, you hear a bicycle bell chime, is what the subtitles say, but a bicycle bell ring, and it's Margaret riding on the bike, and she's towing a tree in a trailer on a bike, of all things, and Mordecai's like, "Oh, I've got to get that webpage done now." And for some reason, the animators, there's not really an easy way to say this, but the animators, they choose to like draw Margaret's butt on the bike seat. And I think people like that's the joke. People make a big deal about it online, like it's something, scandalous. Like they knew what they were doing when they drew this, but it's like, I don't know. If you watch it, it's like, this is just, I don't know. This looks just as, not that the regular show is poorly drawn, but I mean, if you see the animation style, you're kind of like, this is, we're not talking about, the most beautiful looking anime of all time. It's like, these are, they're, I don't want to say crudely drawn, but, there's a little bit of difference, this is not Leonardo da Vinci paintings, so, but anyway, but I do love the way the regular show looks. So don't get me wrong there. It's a cartoon, but yeah, it's, yeah, whatever. Sometimes you do kind of wonder how animators can get away with, not just animators, but like cartoons can get away with putting things in, like the Animaniacs were a popular one for that. And then the one that keeps popping up on Facebook for whatever reason is the banned episode of SpongeBob that I remember seeing as a kid, and I'm like, what the crap? But it's the midlife crustacean episode where they take Mr. Crab out to do all these, wild things, cause a ruckus, and they're all like these boring, just I guess old people things. And Mr. Crab's like, "I'm going home," and Patrick's like, "I guess you'll just have to miss the parade." And he's like, "What?" And they take it. You just gotta watch it. I don't want to give away the ending, but it's so, I don't know. It's kind of unexpected, but SpongeBob's out there going, "Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs," and it's just great. You just gotta watch the clip. I don't want to give it away, but it's like when I first saw that, I was like, "Holy crap!" What? I think that was the one and only time I saw that as a kid. I'm like, "What did I just watch?" But yeah. Anyway, showing stuff they shouldn't be showing. Yeah, but anyway, Mordecai's like, "We got to play again," and Muscle Man, he makes some kind of offer. Muscle Man's like, I think it's worth a lot more than that to you." And Mordecai says, "Double or nothing." And he goes, "You're on." And basically, Muscle Man, they almost recycle footage from when they played. Muscle Man destroys him again. And he's like, "Yes, computer rights for 2 weeks." So yeah, Mordecai sucks at basketball. And how ironic, Muscle Man says, "Margaret, just have to go without her webpage, you loser." And Mordecai goes, and he says, "Basketball sucks." And then he kicks the basketball. And there's a full moon out in broad daylight, but it's, I mean, like, that's not that uncommon, but like, it is very, very apparent. And I think they did that to make the transition animation easier, because the sky just turns to night. And then something starts happening on the moon, and then the moon like turns into basketball and opens up, and surprise, surprise, what comes out? That's right, Ignignokt and the Moonanites. No, just kidding. That's Aqua Teen. No, Carl Weathers' character, the lowercase g god of basketball. He drives down to Earth in this it looks like an Escalade, and it's got gold basketball spinners and golden wings on the back, and it's, this big thumping 808 song, and the license plates. I think it just says like basketball, and then it says shooting hoops on the like little tag holder, and it lands. It's actually a pretty cool sequence, but it lands, and the door opens up, and the character, it looks like he can barely fit in the Escalade, and he gets out, and I believe this character is based off of Wilt Chamberlain. I'm not going to say that 100%, but I think so. I'm kind of confident in saying that, maybe a 50-50. But anyway, it's Carl Weathers voicing it. What'd you say about basketball? So we're not talking Predator Carl Weathers. We're not even talking Rocky Carl Weathers, We're not talking Apollo Creed. We're talking a very upbeat and optimistic Carl Weathers in this episode. So, and he does make a return later. So if you like this episode, keep an eye out for one way later in the series. It's a Rigby episode. Anyway, let's see what happens here. And Mordecai says, nothing. And Carl Weathers' character, now I actually want to look at it. He says, that's what I thought. He says, you only think it sucks because you don't know the fundamentals. And Muscle Man says, save your breath, old man. These guys are a lost cause. And he goes, not to me, they're not. I'm the best basketball coach ever lived. So this reminds me a lot of a mixture of Apollo Creed and Chubbs from Happy Gilmore. So, yeah, that's definitely a movie that influenced these guys, because there's literally, they have Shooter McGavin pretty much on one of these episodes. So, yeah, this is not this episode, but one of them. But this is definitely got some of those Happy Gilmore vibes going. But basically, he's like, I'm going to teach you guys to play kind of like Mordecai and the Rigbys. We're going to give you the powers, blah, blah, blah. He says, I'm going to teach you to play circles around that little pot-bellied leprechaun. How's that sound? And Mordecai says, awesome. So we do get a montage now. And basically, it's just a montage of Mordecai and Rigby screwing up a lot. The notable things about this is Carl Weathers' character does not take off his golden cape one time. Mordecai and Rigby miss a bunch of passes to each other. They get hit in the face. Your basic stuff. But at the end, one of them misses a pass and it hits Carl Weathers' character in the crotch. And he just stands there for probably a good 3-4 seconds just looking right at the camera. And then he bends over and acts like he's in pain. I don't know if that is if the whole La Flop thing was a thing at that time, but the whole flopping in basketball, the delayed responses were a thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if this was cracking a joke at that, but I don't know. So, yeah. But anyway, turns out, Mordecai and Rigby there be about like trying to teach me how to play basketball. In fact, he says, did you two have to be the worst basketball players of all time? And they're like, we're not, we just need more practice. He goes, no, what you need is to not play. And he says, but I can't have that little green idiot talking bad about my coaching. So what I'm going to do is just give you the powers. And oh, sweet. And he points at him, shoots him with this ray, and, it makes like a basketball shape, and gives him these gold jerseys and headbands and golden shoes. Kind of like anytime there's a Death Kwon Do episode, they get the outfit. So, and he goes, now go ice that green fool so you can make a web page for that hot chick or something like that. And they go up there, they kick the door, and, they challenge him. So Muscle Man hustles them into making it computer rules for life. They have a little interaction there, but they get out to the court, and he's like, now that the stakes are for real, we're going to play a real game of basketball. First one, 21 wins, street rules. And he always takes off his shirt. I just noticed that, but he takes off his shirt, and Mordecai's like, fine by me. So they start playing, and Mordecai and Rigby are like winning. They're like dunking over their heads and crap, and like, what? How did you? And Mordecai jumps, it looks like 15 feet up in the air it looks like his feet are touching the rim to block one of the shots that Muscle Man shoots. And Muscle Man goes over to fives, and he's like, I've got to play and take a dive. And he's like, what? And he goes, take a dive. And he walks over there, and he's like, oh, and he just falls down. Like nobody touches him or nothing. And he's like, oh, my teammate's hurt. And Mordecai's like, what? Get up, dude. And he goes, and Muscle Man's like, back off, dude. You put my teammate down. And he's like, now I get to pick anybody in the park to play with me. And I choose that guy. And they're like, well, you can't do that. And Carl Weathers' character's over there with the clipboard. He's like, sorry, Mordecai, but the rules are the rules. He can't play you 2-on-1. And he takes off that cape. And then Muscle Man says, you better give me some of those powers. And, he just zaps him. And Muscle Man's like, oh, yeah, game on, ladies. So he gets the headband too. And now they're really about to crank things up. And it's about to get supernatural up in this joint. So they make it to game point, and yes, it's very apparent that the "Hey Man, Nice Shot" song is on. I guess I just never paid attention, but yeah, it's definitely playing. But yeah, well, it's actually 1917, so it's game point for Muscle Man's team. But Mordecai and Rigby, they get a dunk, so it's tied, and then now Muscle Man's team's in possession. And Rigby's like, "How's it feel to going to have to be using go to your mom's to use the internet for the rest of your life?" Something like that. Of course, I just butchered that, but I'm not the one playing the game, so whatever. But Muscle Man says something else, and then Carl Weathers like, "You better listen to your friend Mordecai." So, he's like, "Really, I'm about to lay it down." So we proceed into this epic. It's like, I mean, it's something you would see in like an anime. It's like Dragon Ball Z type proportions. I'll explain it as we go along here. So Carl Weathers' character starts dribbling so fast that the basketball catches fire, all razzle dazzle. And he gets past him, jumps to dunk it, but Mordecai comes up behind him and grabs the ball. And they're both standing there at the goal, gritting their teeth, and they both jump up. They just launch themselves into outer space. And they're leaving like these energy trails, like Mordecai's blue, Carl Weathers' character's orange. And then Muscle Man and Rigby jump after him. So Muscle Man's aura, I guess, is pink, and Rigby's is green. And they're leaving like these trails in space, and they circle Mars. And it really is a cool scene. It makes no sense. I mean, it's like, why are they going that far out? But they're passing the ball around out in space. But like with that song playing in the background, it's really cool. But they circle Mars. They all kind of get in Rigby, Muscle Man, and basketball dude kind of get in a tussle for like a three-way tussle for the ball, and Rigby wrestles it away from him, passes it to Mordecai, and he launches back down towards Earth. And that's really when the song starts kicking in, and they're all like coming into Earth like a meteor. So, and they turn into meteorites here in a second because they hit the ground. But Mordecai pulls the ball back behind his head, and it's like pinpoint accuracy. He slams on the goal, and it's so hard that it leaves a mushroom cloud. It's like a nuke going off, and it desolates everything. And they leave imprints of their bodies in the ground. They get up, and you hear like a sound effect for like bricks crumbling and stuff, rocks falling. Mordecai's like, "Oh, we did it, dude." Muscle Man's just laying there going, "Oh no, bro," And Muscle Man Rigby gets up, "Yeah, we did it, blah, blah, blah." And Carl Weathers says, "Hey, man, good game." And Mordecai's like, "Thanks, dude." And all this. And Muscle Man's like, "Dude, I could have left fives in there who would have played better D than you." And Carl Weathers goes, "Come on, man, that was a good game." And Muscle Man says, "Whatever." And he walks away. And Carl Weathers goes, "Boy, I hope he doesn't give up on basketball because of this. That guy could really stand to lose some weight." And, then at this point, you hear, "Hey, Mordecai," and it just so happens to be Margaret, and they look over, and they have this conversation. He's like, "Hey, I can get to making that webpage for you now." And she's like, "Oh, no, I got that done." And I'm wanting to say like a month ago or something, and they're like, "What?" Okay, now actually going back and watching it, what happened, she says, "Hey, Mordecai," she says, "You look pretty hot out there." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I guess I was hot. Hot on the trail of finishing your webpage." And she goes, "Oh, my webpage?" And then she kind of looks around, and she goes, "That was finished 2 months ago. Yeah, Eileen finished it." And then she goes, "Gotta go." And she runs off, and it's kind of like, why did you even show up? What were you planning on saying? But whatever. Very awkward and funny at the same time. And Mordecai's like, 2 months? And Carl Weathers is like, time speeds up in space, bro. Which, there we go. Regular show gets my respect. Pulling in that gravitational time dilation. Gotta love it. That's the best part of the episode. Not really, but that is pretty cool that they put that in there. But anyway, that's the end of the episode. Like, it's kind of a decent joke. I mean, but it's never like really hinted at in the episode. It doesn't make a huge callback, maybe towards that end part, but it does fit nicely though. So this whole episode is fairly densely packed with a lot of good stuff. And I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of things that I missed. Something that's more savvy, or somebody that's more savvy to basketball would probably pick up on a lot more things than I did. But it was a very enjoyable episode to watch, I gotta say. Now, for the rest of the notes on the wiki, it says goofs. Throughout the episode, Muscle Man is seen shirtless, but when the sky turns dark, Muscle Man is seen with his shirt on. And yeah, thinking back, yes, it was like that, but I didn't notice it, but I don't know. I guess I was tired of seeing him without a shirt on. I don't know. After Muscle Man chooses Carl Weathersby on his team. High Five Ghost disappears from the court for the remainder of the... So High Five's Ghost disappears after, he takes a dive, which he probably just got bored and left. I mean, I don't know if that's a goof or not, but... So when Mordecai and Rigby were getting trained after the second loss to Muscle Man and High Five Ghost, Muscle Man claims to have 3 years of computer time. However, the game was only for 2 months worth of computer time. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. And Muscle Man can count, I believe. He's one of them swindlers. So, UK version, alternate versions, the close-up shot of Margaret's butt was reanimated to a shot of her just cycling. So, okay. Maybe those animators did know what they were doing. I don't know. I never understood the big hubbub. I mean, I guess I do understand the hubbub over that shot. Like, it's just like you just don't put that in a show. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. There's nothing really that appealing. There's nothing appealing at all about that shot, but whatever. So that's all we got for this episode. Now, the next episode, Cool Box. I have not seen one that many times, but I always enjoy it when I watch it. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of Kids Today from what I remember, but not exactly. I mean, it's different. It has to do with well, you'll see. You'll see, I guess. We'll just leave it at that. But Gary's in that next episode, so it's a cool one. After that, we got House Rules, Wrap It Up. That's a good one. It's got Pops rapping in it. Cruising, Under the Hood, Weekend at Benson's. Oh man, that's an iconic episode. Fortune Cookie, Think Positive, Skips versus Technic. There's a lot of good episodes in this season. Excellent. I can't guarantee you, but I'm going to try to get Rob back on for Excellent. I can't guarantee anything, but maybe more than that. But that's a really good episode. Man, there's a lot of these. So anyway, we'll get to them when we get there. Season 3 starts to enter into that like real sweet spot of episodes, it seems like, for regular show. Season 2 had some. Maybe it's like Aqua Teen. Season 2 and Season 3 are the golden era or whatever. It has all the... I can't really say that, though, because some of the later episodes in regular show are really some of the better ones. But anyway, that's all I have. I appreciate everybody listening, and we are now usually on YouTube. It's just regular time, regular show about the regular show, blah, blah, blah. I think a couple people watch. If you could share, review, anything like that, it really, it's so hard to get anybody to listen, and I don't know, I've probably said this as many episodes as I've put out, but it's I don't know, it is a little discouraging, but at the same time, it's I'm doing it, but I would just like to see more people listen, and maybe engage with comments about the regular show, whatnot. I like to feel like I'm not on a little island by myself, which is usually the case most of the time. But that's okay. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I will see you, or I will talk to you. Maybe, well, I guess with nobody talking about you, it's more like I will talk at you. No, I will talk to you, and maybe hopefully hear from you in a couple weeks, and I wish you the best until then. Thank you, and insert catchphrase